June 6, 1942, northern sector of Sevastopol, Crimea. A pale morning haze settles over the limestone ridges as the 132nd Infantry Division of the Wehrmacht prepares its advance. The cliffs carry a dry, mineral scent, and distant surf rolls against the shore below. Along the forward observation lines, German officers study the terrain through field glasses, noting only sparse Soviet movement. Reports from the previous days had insisted that female snipers were operating in these positions, claims many officers dismissed as exaggeration. Yet the Red Army had already integrated hundreds of women into its sniper units by this point in the war, following direct directives from the Central Women's School of Sniper Training in Moscow. Among those deployed to the Black Sea Front was Lyudmila Pavlichenko, by then one of the most skilled snipers of the Soviet 25th Rifle Division. Her confirmed tally had already exceeded 250. A figure later verified by Soviet after-action records and Western interviews. In the trenches behind the battered Sapin Ridge, Soviet officers coordinated defensive assignments with precision. Sniper pairs, often one shooter and one spotter, received exact coordinates for cover positions among natural rock formations. Archival Soviet training manuals emphasized patience, concealment, and calculated timing rather than continuous engagement. This approach shaped how women like Pavlichenko were deployed during the final defense of Sevastopol. That morning, as German artillery observers scanned the hillside, the stillness was broken only by the soft scraping of boots on stone and the distant rotation of searchlights repositioning along the port. Pavlichenko, according to later interviews, preferred positions that allowed minimal soil disturbance. She worked quietly, adjusting her Mosin-Nagant rifle while her spotter monitored the ridge line. From the German side, skepticism toward Soviet reports persisted. Diaries recovered after the war show several officers referring to female snipers as rumors or frontline gossip. The belief was widespread. Soviet propaganda often embellished stories, so these accounts were assumed to be another example. But field logs from the Sevastopol front documented a pattern. The casualties often involved platoon leaders and officers, individuals whose movements were predictable due to the routine of reconnaissance and coordination. The precision suggested trained marksmen, yet German units had not identified any concentrated sniper groups in the sector. The calm lasted until mid-morning, when the 132 ND Division's forward platoons received orders to shift toward an exposed ridge to establish observation. The movement was deliberate, with officers stepping forward to assess the route. The environment seemed quiet, almost unusually so, as the sun rose through low clouds. Then, in the span of only minutes, German field notes recorded several sudden losses among leadership personnel. The exact moments were not described in detail, but the pattern became unmistakable. The impacts came from concealed positions at extended distance, with no visible muzzle flash. The precision matched the documented training standards of Soviet snipers, who were taught to work from shadowed locations and avoid revealing their positions through unnecessary movement. Only after the engagement did German officers begin acknowledging the possibility that the Soviet reports were accurate. Sevastopol's defenders were indeed using women as trained sharpshooters, and these units were operating at a level far beyond what the Wehrmacht had expected. The first verified German reference to them during this period appeared in operational notes preserved after the war, describing the shooters as unsichtbarer Tod, the unseen death. The phrase, later cited in post-war analyses, marked a turning point in German understanding of Soviet sniper operations on the Black Sea front. The events of that day at Sevastopol were only the beginning. As the conflict deepened, the presence of Soviet women snipers became an established reality across multiple fronts, reshaping how the Wehrmacht approached officer movement and forward command. June 1942, outskirts of Sevastopol, Crimea. In the days following the first recorded German acknowledgement of Soviet women snipers, the pattern of precise Soviet firing persisted. Morning reports from the 132nd Infantry Division and the 50th Infantry Division documented a consistent trend. Forward officers, rangefinders, and artillery spotters were the most frequently affected. The losses occurred during brief exposures, adjusting binoculars, signaling with field markers, or examining maps over open ground. German commanders initially attributed the accuracy to elite Soviet male sniper detachments, known from engagements outside Moscow earlier in the war. But as Sevastopol's defensive lines continued to resist, intelligence summaries from the Wehrmacht's LIV Army Corps began noting multiple references to female marksmen from prisoner interrogations. The consistency across unrelated Soviet captives made the reports increasingly difficult to dismiss. Meanwhile, Soviet archival records show that Pavlichenko and other trained women from the 25th Rifle Division were coordinating their positions with precision. The natural rock folds around Sevastopol gave skilled snipers opportunities to use elevated ledges, pre-selected firing slits, and camouflaged grooves in the terrain. Soviet operational notes emphasized rotating positions after each mission, minimizing pattern detection by German observers. Within this setting, Pavlichenko continued to operate under strict guidance. Her confirmed tally had climbed beyond 260 by late June, with Soviet reports documenting her role in countersniper actions, one of the primary tasks assigned to experienced shooters. Countersniper engagements required patience, often taking hours or full days, and relied on subtle terrain indicators such as displaced dust or reflective metal surfaces. Her most noted confrontation in this period involved a German sniper whose identity was later referenced in Soviet wartime publications. Although the detailed claims were sometimes amplified, Western historians agree that her countersniper work at Sevastopol is thoroughly supported by both Soviet and post-war German sources. German units gradually altered their behavior in response. Officers were instructed to reduce visible gestures, avoid standing on elevated terrain, and limit movement between command posts to early dawn or late dusk. Reports from the 22nd Panzer Division describe the introduction of improvised shields, smoke screens, and alternative signaling methods to reduce exposure. Still, the challenge persisted. German engineers attempting to establish new forward observation posts found themselves working under constant pressure. Even moments of quiet carried uncertainty. Archival engineering logs from this period note the need to reconnoiter every rise, crest, and trench lip before construction. Procedures that slowed operations considerably and reshaped planning timelines. AS intelligence reports circulated. The earlier dismissive attitudes within the Wehrmacht began to fade. Descriptions of girls with rifles, once used flippantly in frontline briefings, shifted to more cautious terminology. Officers who had previously laughed off Soviet claims now found themselves consulting field manuals on sniper detection and distributing updated movement guidelines. One German after-action memorandum, preserved in post-war archives, described the situation in measured language. Sniper activity increases hourly. Targets are selected with deliberation. The shooters demonstrate training and discipline. Enemy sources claim women are among them. This appears plausible. For the Red Army, these developments validated their strategic use of trained women snipers. Graduates from the Central Women's School of Sniper Training were known for steady aim and calm under pressure, attributes reinforced through methodical drills and repeated field exercises. By mid-1942, these skills were proving critical in Sevastopol's defense, where each shot carried operational weight. As June turned to July, the Wehrmacht pressed deeper into the city's defensive ring. Despite the eventual fall of Sevastopol, the experiences of German units during this period profoundly influenced how they approached Soviet sniper presence on other fronts, especially as the war shifted toward Stalingrad. September 1942, approaches to Stalingrad. The lessons German units carried from Sevastopol reached the Volga front just as the fighting around Stalingrad intensified. Intelligence summaries circulated within the 6th Army warned that Soviet women snipers were now operating in several rifle divisions, defending the city's northern and central sectors. These reports aligned with the records from the Red Army sniper schools, which by mid-1942 had accelerated training through additional courses held in Moscow, Sverdlovsk, and the Urals. By this time, the total number of trained female snipers in the Red Army had exceeded 2,000, according to official wartime statistics later confirmed through post-war analysis. Many were deployed in the 62nd and 64th Armies, holding the city's riverbank and industrial districts. Their integration into frontline formations was not symbolic. It was a structured, standardized component of Soviet defensive doctrine. Within Stalingrad, the urban environment transformed sniper operations. Rubble piles, collapsed walls, and fractured staircases provided firing angles that traditional observation posts could not easily detect. German infantry logs described frequent uncertainty when moving between ruined buildings, even in areas previously considered secure. Narrow passages and elevated positions inside damaged factories created opportunities for concealed shots from distance as well within the capability of trained Soviet marksmen. Several documented Soviet women snipers served during this period, including those recorded in the archives of the 284th Rifle Division and 1077th Anti-Aircraft Regiment. Their roles varied, some assisted in reconnaissance, others engaged in counter-sniper missions, and many operated in small two-person teams. The overall impact of these teams became particularly evident in reports from German pioneer units attempting to clear buildings for advance routes. One such report from the 295th Infantry Division noted that officer movement had to be minimized after repeated losses near the Central Railway District. The document cited accurate small arms fire from concealed positions, a phrase that appeared with increasing frequency throughout October. This precision contributed to a gradual shift in how German troops traversed the urban terrain. Movement lines were adjusted to keep to interior corridors, while external stairwells and open courtyards were avoided whenever possible. Soviet records from this period describe the discipline imposed on sniper teams operating within Stalingrad. They were instructed to limit engagements to well-defined targets, avoid unnecessary repositioning, and maintain camouflage using debris, dust-covered clothing, and natural shadows within damaged structures. Their effectiveness relied on a combination of training and the distinct conditions of urban warfare. One of the clearest German acknowledgments came from intelligence notes referencing captured Soviet documents and interrogations. These summaries confirmed that specialized female sniper detachments had been assigned to defend high-value positions such as command posts, supply hubs, and key intersections. This aligned with Soviet operational planning, which designated snipers as a means to protect critical ground and disrupt enemy coordination. The growing recognition of their presence extended beyond official reports. Accounts from German soldiers written after the war described the gradual change in perception. What had once been dismissed as unrealistic, that women could be among the most skilled shooters on the Eastern Front, became a documented operational factor. The term unsichtbarer Tod resurfaced in multiple units, now used without irony. As autumn advanced, the tempo of urban combat increased. German formations pushed deeper into the city's industrial zone, encountering sniper fire from unexpected angles. Second-story windows without glass, gaps in shattered concrete, or recesses along the Volga bank. Each engagement reinforced what had already become clear at Sevastopol. Soviet women snipers were trained, coordinated, and integrated into the wider defensive effort. Their role at Stalingrad would continue to shape the battle's progression, influencing German movement patterns, reconnaissance procedures, and command decisions throughout the final months of 1942. November 1942, Stalingrad's industrial district. As temperatures dropped and the first layers of frost settled over the ruins, the pattern of Soviet sniper activity became one of the clearest defensive features of the city. By this stage, the 6th Army's internal intelligence bulletins, summaries prepared for regimental and battalion staff, highlighted sniper presence as a persistent operational constraint. These reports drew from field observations, prisoner interrogations, and analysis of Soviet defensive doctrine, which emphasized methodical, selective fire rather than continuous engagement. Female snipers were noted in several specific sectors, including the area around the Barikady factory, the Red October complex, and the districts adjacent to the Volga embankment. Soviet archival sources confirm that these industrial zones received reinforcements from sniper groups formed through the Central Women's School and regional sniper programs. Among the documented personnel serving during this period were graduates who had been deployed directly from training schools into the 62nd Army's defensive lines. German units adapted in response. Movement guidelines distributed within the 79th Infantry Division and 100th Jaeger Division advised officers to reduce skyline exposure on upper floors and avoid vantage points that had previously offered useful reconnaissance. Pioneers recorded that even the act of placing observation slits through walls carried risk unless coordinated under cover or darkness. These adaptations slowed the tempo of advance and required new procedures for surveying damaged buildings. One German engineering memorandum preserved after the war referenced the necessity of using armored plates, improvised shields, and rubble barriers to protect against highly accurate rifle fire from concealed positions. The phrasing, while neutral, reflected a growing recognition that Soviet snipers, women among them, were influencing frontline behavior in ways rarely seen on other fronts. On the Soviet side, sniper teams operated under strict coordination. Daily reports from the 62nd Army detail how each sharpshooter submitted records of observations, distances, and firing results. These logs were used to refine defensive positioning and identify areas in which German officers were likely to appear. Snipers were often placed to guard approach routes to command posts, supply points, and communication lines, using the complex geometry of ruined buildings to conceal their presence. Female sniper detachments were particularly active in the northern industrial sectors. Many operated in pairs, following the standard Soviet practice of assigning a spotter to assist with distance calculation and environmental assessment. The urban landscape demanded patience. Soviet reports describe engagements that took place after hours of stillness, with snipers waiting for brief exposures such as a German officer leaning forward to check a map or signaling a squad to reposition. Across the river, the Stalingrad Front Command increased its emphasis on sniper operations as winter set in. Reinforcements brought additional trained personnel, and senior officers cited the psychological and tactical benefits of disciplined sniper activity in their reports to Moscow. These records documented how the presence of skilled shooters, men and women alike, helped maintain defensive cohesion during critical stages of the battle. By late November, German awareness of female snipers had shifted from skepticism to operational certainty. Intelligence documents noted the appearance of camouflage techniques consistent with Soviet sniper training. Use of dust-covered uniforms, blending with rubble, and deployment inside partially collapsed buildings that offered natural concealment. These reports made no distinction between male and female shooters, indicating that gender was no longer central to German assessments. Instead, the emphasis was on skill, accuracy, and tactical impact. As conditions worsened and Soviet counteroffensives began to reshape the battlefield, the role of snipers, particularly trained women, remained an integral element of the defensive strategy that held the Volga Line. Their presence continued to influence German decision-making as the encirclement of the Sixth Army approached. January 1943, Stalingrad, western bank of the Volga. As the encirclement of the German Sixth Army tightened, Soviet operational reports highlighted the stabilizing role of trained sniper detachments across the shrinking defensive zones. With temperatures falling well below freezing, every form of movement, supply, reconnaissance, or evacuation, required coordination through narrow corridors of relative safety. Snipers, including many women from the Central Women's Sniper School, maintained observation over these routes to prevent German breakthrough attempts. Records from the Stalingrad front document that sniper teams were strategically positioned to oversee intersections, collapsed factory floors, and river approaches. Their observations were often more valuable than their rifle fire. Daily logbooks show entries that detail German troop shifts, assembly areas, and engineering efforts to clear debris. Information passed upward to guide Soviet artillery and infantry responses. These logs, preserved in post-war archives, are among the clearest records of women snipers' contributions during the final stages of the battle. On the German side, January reports from the trapped Sixth Army reveal how sniper pressure, combined with the broader collapse of supply lines, forced units to modify even basic procedures. Field messages recorded that officers limited outdoor communication, relying more heavily on runners and internal corridors. Improvised protective screens were erected in command areas wherever building walls had been shattered. Observers also noted that any exposed vantage point, even for brief reconnaissance, risked precise rifle fire from unseen positions. Soviet command continued rotating sniper personnel to mitigate exhaustion. The extreme conditions required regular shifts. Frost, debris, and stagnant air within ruined structures challenged even the most experienced sharpshooters. Yet their discipline remained consistent. Archival reports from the 62nd Army describe methodical record-keeping, confirmations, distances, and observations submitted after every mission, even during the final weeks of intense fighting. In the broader picture, the cumulative effect of Soviet sniper operations, both male and female, was now clearly acknowledged. German post-war studies, including analyses compiled by former officers under Allied supervision, noted how the steady, disciplined sniper presence in Stalingrad disrupted reconnaissance, reduced officer mobility, and forced repeated adjustments to operational planning. Among these studies, several references point directly to the effectiveness of women snipers, corroborating earlier accounts from Sevastopol and other fronts. After the German surrender in February 1943, Soviet evaluations of the battle emphasized the contribution of trained sharpshooters as part of the overall defensive mosaic. The official records of the Red Army note that by the end of 1943, female snipers collectively accounted for significant confirmed results across multiple fronts, with graduates like Lyudmila Pavlichenko, who concluded her combat service after Sevastopol, serving as prominent examples of the program's effectiveness. Her final verified tally of 309 would later be documented through wartime reports and confirmed in interviews conducted after the war. The presence of women in Soviet sniper units left a lasting impression on both sides of the Eastern Front. Their deployment challenged early assumptions within the Wehrmacht and demonstrated the Red Army's willingness to utilize all trained personnel in specialized roles. Post-war interviews with German veterans repeatedly referenced the precision and discipline they encountered, reflecting how the skepticism of early 1942 transformed into recognition by 1943. Through the remainder of the war, women continued to serve in Soviet sniper detachments across multiple fronts, contributing to operations during the Kursk defensive battles, the liberation of Ukraine, and the push toward Eastern Europe. Archival documents, wartime photographs, and military personnel files collectively verify the depth and scale of their involvement. By the time the conflict in Europe concluded in 1945, the record of Soviet women snipers had become one of the most thoroughly documented examples of women in direct combat roles during World War II. Their service, as demonstrated in Sevastopol, Stalingrad, and beyond, stands as a historically verified chapter of the Eastern Front, grounded in training, discipline, and documented military necessity.